wanted to show you a package I just got, and if you hear some thundering or a loud noise, it definitely, like that, just started pouring rain outside, which will actually kind of be nice on this install because it's supposed to be a cold front and it's been like close to 100 degrees all day today. So this is going to be the IAG AOS. So starting off, looks like I got some stickers, some clips, and then a couple valves. This thing is a whole lot bigger and a whole lot heavier than I actually expected. Like, this hose is seriously heavy duty. I thought it would just be like a thin line. So, I'm not going to bore you with all the different hoses that came with it, but it's basically a spider web of a job. It looks like it's going to be. Now, I'm not going to bore you with showing you a bunch of random stuff. I know the only thing you want to see is the actual canister here. So, let me get this tape off. And this thing is massive. I thought yeah, this is not what I was expecting for sure. This thing's huge. This is the street version. I didn't want to go with the comp. It may have been easier to install, but the comp requires a tune on it, where the street you can just fit right up to the WRX and you're all good. Let's see what else. It looks like some sort of brace. That's what I'm assuming this is here. Overall, this is packaged really well. Yeah, this is one of the mounts. If you have the parent radiator shrouded, this stuff almost has the same feel or consistency to it. I think this, yep, that's all we got here. So, I guess if you order this part, I bought it from MA Performance since it was about $20 cheaper. Hopefully this is what I need, judging by all these different parts here, I guess hoses. I really don't know till I get at it. So, get downstairs and hopefully kind of sit out in some of this weather we got going on right now. This is going to be sweet. Okay, so I'm going to take you through this process step by step here. The first thing you want to do, and probably the most important thing, is to go ahead and remove your negative battery terminal. Let me just get this loosened a little bit here. Since there's no other videos I saw on YouTube about installing this for the 2017 WRX, I'm going to take you through it step by step from the very first beginning step till the last finished completion step here. So once you have your terminal removed, that's just a good thing to do right off the bat so you don't forget to do it later. You're going to take these two pop clips out of your engine cover. So there's one. You just basically take a screwdriver, turn it a little bit. It's kind of a pain. And simply fit it under, get this out. Now you want to grab each side here and slowly just kind of wiggle, and there you go, simple as that. Now your next step is going to be to remove two pop clips that are right here. Since I have the radiator fan, I have to do a little bit more work here, so give me a second and I'll be back. Okay, so I was able to remove the shroud here, and now all I'm doing is just taking off the two push clips. So working with one right now. There we go. Let's get the second one out here. There we go. Now all you do is just slide this cover forward here. It comes right out. I'm going to be removing the radiator fan. You can see right down there, that's where your connection is to it. So you'll unplug the connection, take out these two 10mm bolts, and it should come right out. So this is what it looks like with the radiator fan pulled. I didn't want to do it, but I figured I'll have to get down there later, so I went ahead and pulled out the bottom cover, where it's actually pretty easy, and there's a couple little clips on it, but didn't want to show you that. That's something you can easily find somewhere else on here. But pulled the clip out of the radiator fan. I tried to get it from the top, and I wasn't able to, and I don't know how many parts I'm going to be taking off, so it's always smart to go ahead and label whatever cord you pull off. That way you know which one goes to what whenever you're reinstalling the pieces. So for the next step here, you're going to be removing the two 12mm bolts that are on your charge pipe. Just follow it down, and basically from there you're going to go underneath. Remove this piece here, just basically push that clip in, pull it up, and then you're going to be leaving the bypass or blow off valve connected to the charge pipe, but what you want to do is leave it all connected. You want to disconnect the bottom here. So I'm going to take care of these 3 steps, then we'll move on. As you can see under here, I went ahead and just removed everything. I tried to keep the blow-off valve attached, but I had to remove it out of the side since these connections up top for some reason won't come undone. So it's just kind of hanging right there, and the box underneath the bypass valve is tucked up underneath here, as well as the hose. So your next step is going to be removing the actual charge pipe. So there's a fitting. I tucked mine down here, but you just basically undo this ring clamp and should be able to pull it right out. Just as a heads up, your charge pipe is seated through a grommet onto looks like a little bolt looking plastic piece. So you want to pull it off of that, and then the charge pipe comes off pretty simple. So for those, you can't just start pulling the charge pipe. You gotta pull it up off of here, and then it comes out pretty easy. The first part of removing your intercooler is removing this 12mm bolt and this 12mm bolt. The next step is going to be loosening this clamp right down here, so you can actually pull the intercooler all the way out. And once I loosen that, I'm going to be taking it out. So here's what it's looking like with the intercooler removed. I went ahead and took off that brace right there, so I had a little bit more wiggle room. And with the intercooler, it'll feel like it's stuck on something, but it's actually, there's a pad on the intercooler itself, which I'll show you here. The bottom of this pad actually gets stuck on both sides, so you just kind of have to bump it a little bit and it'll come loose. This is what they call the crankcase, and they want you to remove this sensor. So this crappy clip that I really hate, you gotta pop that off and then remove this white piece here and plug it back into the original position down there. This piece here was easier than expected. You just have to use some pliers and pinch it in, and then wedge a flathead screwdriver and you can pop it off. So you can kind of tell what I'm talking about using the flathead screwdriver. You're taking off this piece from that piece there. Makes a lot of sense whenever you're doing it, but it just kind of sucks. Next thing I'm going to do here is removing the EGR pipe, and as you can see it's right down here. So there's going to be two 12mm bolts on each side, and remember too that there's a kind of a fitting or a gasket. You want to make sure to hang on to that as well, because you'll need it when you put it back on. Now looking at the car here, your next step is going to be removing this hose here. I'm trying to find my hand. It's going to be right here. I'm pointing to it right down there. Looks like I have to kind of move my clamp around since you can't see it, but you're going to be pulling this hose up. Once you have this tube removed, sorry, I'm kind of in the light here, but you'll take your 90-degree fitting, fit it into that hose. The next step will be removing that plug there, the one that looks like it has a little green ring around it. Use a 19mm socket and just take it out. So this is the piece I'd removed. I'm going to be replacing it with this here. And it feels like it's plastic at first, but it is actually like a metal, maybe like a aluminum, since it feels a whole lot lighter. So I'm going to be putting this back in place where I pulled this out. I forgot to say too, you want to torque this to 15 foot-pounds. The next step will be removing I have to kind of show you here on the ECU. If you look at it, there's 4 circles. Those are where some clips are going to be at. It's hard to really film right on the car, so I'm showing you here. Just use some needle nose. As for right now, I was only able to get these 2 clips on the top. The bottom ones I can't even get my hand into. So I'm going to try to move on to the next step and then see if I can't unplug it better. You're going to remove 2 10mm bolts. There's one at the top, the ECU, and then one, I'm not sure if I can really show you, I'll just kind of stick you down there. There's going to be one at the bottom. So there's going to be a 10mm bolt right in here, kind of wedged, and then straight down there's going to be another one. The 4th clip for the harness I had to get underneath the car to be able to get to it. The 3rd one that I missed was just on the side where you just have to kind of pull pretty tough, but you can get it out. Now, since I want to be as detailed as possible in this video, you can see that there's a gray harness right down there, and this is going to be connected to the bracket. You unclip it from the inside, so you're going to have to remove the bracket partially, unclip it, and then remove the rest of the bracket out. Now, if you can see where my hand is here, there's going to be a ground wire, and right underneath it there's a little plug. What the instructions here say is to remove this ground and the plug and basically move the ground to the lower hole. So now I have that ground wire down there relocated, and I'm not sure if I said, but you don't need to put the plug in the top one. You're going to be putting on your bracket next, and that it's going to fit like this, and that's why you cleared up that top hole for it. And there is a little harness, so you can actually move the ground once you have it unbolted. You have to take out a clip. You can see it's at white clip way down there, and I couldn't figure out how to get it off, so I just cut it. It's not going to be used anymore, so you don't have to worry about it. So now I'm going to be putting that bolt through on the side and then one on the top going down. When you're installing the bracket, make sure you use the shorties. These are going to be the longs here. These are going to be connecting the ECU to the harness. I had messed up, so I had to undo it, but not too big of a issue at all. So your next step is going to be to actually find the harness here, right there on the ECU. I don't want to really move it around too much or bump it, but you want to take that off and then remove this clip from it. And then from there you'll use these bolts as well as these washers that you had originally, and you secure your ECU with these two bolts and the washers. As you can see, it's already dark outside. You're going to be putting these two hoses right onto your AOS. This one with the fitting on the bottom, the short one, goes on the bottom. The long one here goes on the top. Your next step here is to take this bracket and you count 1, 2, 3, and this third one is where the bracket is going to be going here. You want it kind of oriented down. This is the bottom of the can here. And then from there on, you're going to take this piece here and fit it. Let's find here what they call the breather side. You're going to fit it into this side. This is the top. Next step here is going to be removing, there's going to be two clips there, and then two, I'm not sure if you can see, two 10 millimeter bolts right here, and it's going to remove this harness. Now I have everything just all kind of taken off. The step before you actually put in the AOS is going to be to push all the wires down and zip tie them. So I'm going to get to that right now. Next thing I'm going to be doing is actually putting the AOS. With the bracket that you put on, it fits up against these two bolts. There's a third bolt, but this one is not, I guess, not bolt hole. There's a third hole, but you won't be using it. You'll be using these two, putting just factory bolts in. So I'm gonna put it in now. So finally, after about 4 or so hours, I have the AOS mounted. I use the word mounted. Still have quite a bit to do to get it installed here, but it looks pretty sharp. So no fitment issues, just a little bit of you kind of have to jam it a little bit. Once you put the bolts in, it holds real secure. So let's move on to the next thing now. So the next step is take your hose clamps, clamp it onto this top line here. So this is going to help with some of your coolant here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then we're going to move around to the back of the engine here and close off the other side. Now the hose on the back, I'm just going by the pictures from the website. It looks to be this one here, not this one, but the lower one. So I'm going to be clamping that one up. Now you're going to revisit the clamp you put here on the front and the, I guess, clamp that holds the tube on. You're going to want to open it up and loosen it and move it back. So with this piece here towards the front of your WRX, you have it already loosened. You're going to take this hose out. You're going to undo this a little bit here so that you can bend this hose around, and then you're going to connect it here with your lower piece coming out of your AOS. Your top tube out of your AOS is going to come around, and you connect it to that spot you previously removed your OEM tubing from. So you'll have to put the aftermarket clamp on this tube here and just fit it onto there afterwards. I'm going to work on that now. Also, you don't need to do anything at the back besides pinch off the hose. So now I have the top of my AOS running down to the original coolant spot here, and then the coolant hose from that area has been connected here on the lower part. Sorry I'm not talking real well, I'm pretty tired at this point, but really excited to get this job complete here. Next step is just removing the clip there, and then the one that you had on the back of the engine, and let you know I didn't lose a single drop of of coolant, so that was pretty cool. The next step in this process is to take this Y type piece with a little 90-degree bend in the tubing, and what you're going to do is take your shorter end. Let me show you here in the light. The shorter end of it, you're going to feed it through this hole right here. Taking off this little part on the intercooler mounting bracket because I kept on bumping it trying to get back and forth. But you'd feed it through that hole, and then the 90-degree piece fits. Let me get around here. Right on top of that barb that you had installed earlier. So once you put that on, you want to put a zip tie on it as well to secure it. Next step will be taking one of these rubber caps and the zip tie, and all you have to do is go over to your AOS unit here, and the very top barb that's sticking out this way, the very top one, you plug this in and zip tie it here. This hose that's through your intercooler bracket, it goes to the actual bottom of the can. That's going to be your oil return, and then your top overhead piece, or I'm sorry, this one hasn't been used yet. This line here goes into the middle, and that's the other Y part that was connected to that barb down here. Whenever you have this finished, you're going to put your EGR back on. Remember to put the gasket on as well. Now that you have this installed, you want to find that original little 90-degree piece that you used right here, and then connect it. You want to feed it under, and then you basically connect it right here, and then put a little zip tie on it. Pretty simple. You got the EGR back on, and we'll move on to the next thing. You're going to take this Y piece here, find the shorter side. Shorter side looks like it's on the left here, and you're going to plug this into the top of the air oil separator in the middle port, and then this one here you're going to plug into the furthest one right. So basically right here at the top, you're going to put it, the smaller one right there and the larger one right there. Your next step is to start at the Y part and route this hose down. You want to route it under the engine as it's over right now, and then below, I have it removed right now, but you're going to connect it to the white piece there and zip tie it. Next step is to take this hose here. I'm going to get around and get you a light. You're going to take this hose and route it down here, then up through right here. So it's sticking up through there. You're going to connect this flat piece with this tube with the 90-degree barb, and then this is what's going to go on the side there at the very bottom. Now I have everything installed. It looks pretty good. Really wasn't too hard of a job. It was just sitting down and actually thinking it through before you start doing it. So what's odd though is that I have this piece here still left. And I went through the instructions probably over the last 20-30 minutes, just making sure that it doesn't fit towards any other piece. So I think it's just extra if you want to replace your OEM piece here. So just gonna put it all back together same way I took it apart, and check all the connections one more time and start the car up, see how it sounds. So sorry it's kind of dark, guys. It's about 3:30 in the morning now. I started this project probably around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so about 10 hours, which was pretty expected. So I thought maybe about 7 or 8, but I guess with filming it took quite a bit longer. This is going to be my first start, and we'll see what it sounds like. We hear any of the bean rattling like what some people have said on Naziok. So start it up, we'll see how it goes. Hey everyone, how's it going? I had filmed an outro last night, but it was all dark, so I don't think it did its justice. So I wanted to update you guys on what was going on here with the system. As you can see, it's installed here. I have the 3 wires coming down next to the charge pipe, and one of them goes down by your bypass valve. I didn't have any issues with clearance with the fan here, so it all worked out pretty well. I didn't have any trouble at all installing the charge pipe intercooler or putting the fan back in. The only thing that I had was I ran one of these cables too short, so it was kind of coming over to the bypass valve instead of just coming around to it. So I just had to reroute it a little bit. And I spoke with AIG this morning. They stated that the piece that is about a 2.5-inch tube with a 90-degree connection that goes to a longer, probably about 40-inch connection, that piece isn't going to be used for the 2017 WRX. This was something that was specific to the 15 and 16, but is still included in some of the kits. So I'm going to start the car up again, and I'll let you see how it runs. Like I had stated earlier, I spoke with AIG, and they said for the 17s, this is still actually a little new to them. They haven't had 2-3 years experience on this specific install. So hopefully this really helps out someone else who's looking to do this installation. And really glad I was able to get it installed and put on without any huge issue running into. So be sure to like and subscribe, and as always, happy driving and enjoy.